Hello, all, and welcome to the 12th episode of Sportscast, where we delve into the minds of individuals in the sports space, the sports ecosystem, and sports personalities. Uh, I think the 12th episode. I think we've actually gotten used to who we bring on the show now, and it's actually been like a really cool journey to actually talk to individuals who actually do some really cool stuff in sport. So today I have a slightly different personality with me as opposed to the kind of people that I've been getting. That's a small confession I have to make before I introduce who we have. So today with me I have Akhil Rabindra, who is the Indian face of the Aston Martin team for Formula 3, if I'm not wrong. Akhil has been a race car driver for the better part of the last few years, and one of the few Indian people who's actually been into I mean, rather racing cars since 2010, and recently he's also become the like I said, the face of Aston Martin. So Akhil, thank you so much for being a part of this show. Means a lot to actually have you here. So I think obviously the first question is, how does one become a race car driver? Because you don't that's not like a career path that many people actually see, right? How does one become a race car driver?
Yeah, thank you, Abhijit, for having me. And it's great to do this. Just a small correction: the category I'm racing currently is called GT4. I did race in
Okay,
Formula 3, but it was back in 2016. But yeah,
I
it
see.
gets
Okay,
confusing with
but you've
Formula
done
cars.
Formula Three. Okay, you've done
Yes, yes,
Formula
yeah,
Three. So okay,
in 2016.
I see.
Yeah.
Okay,
So coming back to your question, what it takes to become a racing driver, or how one wants to become a racing driver. It's in India. It's very interesting because we are not a racing country. We do not
right,
have a lot of race tracks. We do not have a lot of karting tracks. In proportion to our size of the country,
right,
and racing is an expensive sport because you use equipment which are very expensive, and since it's a high performance sports, it's all the consumables are you're consuming it pretty frequently, and you got to put fuel, you got to put tires, you got to put everything else. You got to keep replacing as fast as you can, otherwise you won't have the performance edge. So
right, right.
and I think somewhere down the line, it's not, smaller things. It's not televised on TV, so people much don't know much about it. But saying all that, in the last few years, or probably in the last 4 5 years, racing has picked up in India. There have been several go-karting tracks which have come up, several racing tracks which are in the pipeline to come up, and racing leagues which have started. So the ecosystem, right from the grassroots, is developing and picking up, and the whole hierarchy is getting a refresh. So I think the single biggest thing, if you go anywhere in the world, any race car you drive, whatever you do, yeah, you need certain resources to drive.
Right.
And unfortunately, our sport, it's not something where we can practice every day. You can't go kick a football. You can't go kick a football in your neighborhood or in your house, or play tennis or something. For us to practice, yes, we can practice virtually, and it's the next best thing. But you just can't take a race car and go down the road and go up and down. That's not really practice. So it is an
Especially in
expensive
Bangalore
sport.
traffic. Yeah,
Oh yes, yeah.
especially.
Yeah, you won't make much. You won't get very far.
Right. No, I mean, so obviously being an expensive sport and the ecosystem developing. When did you realize that, okay, this is what I want to do? I want to be a race car driver. Did you watch Formula One? Did you see Schumacher, Hamilton, and all these guys racing, and then decide that you wanted to do it, or was it something specific that actually led you to say, okay, hey, listen, I'm pretty good at this. So how did you make that decision?
Yeah, so I think there were a couple of things. I'm not from a racing family, nor anyone I know is from the racing part, friends
Right,
or family. So no influence of Formula One or any racing in my household growing up. The only
right,
influence I had was the family side. We were a lot of car enthusiasts. We used to always talk about cars, bikes, and all that. So that's where the whole car interest came from. And my uncles and all my relatives are very enthusiastic, spirited drivers. I think so.
Right.
Somewhere that influence came on me, and every family gathering or whenever people came home or we went somewhere, there's some element of cars. And whenever someone got a new car, we used to go test drive it and so on and so forth. So that's the bit of the family influence. Second is, when you're young, the only thing you can do is legally is drive a go-kart, right? A rental go-kart.
Right.
So, and saying that, I started my racing journey very late. I started when I was 12, 13.
Right.
People start when they're 7. So, there's a good 5, 6 years head start, even 6 sometimes. Um,
Right.
so yeah, so I started rental go-karting, and we used to just do it because um, on the weekends, when I used to get bored or something, father used to take me go-karting. And back in the day, there used to be a place where I used to go frequently, was Grips, which is in Mysore Road.
Right. Right.
So I got a drive. I mean, I got to enjoy the drive up there and back, and then do a few sessions. And
Right.
yeah, and then I ended up beating a lot of the recreational go-karting gang. And then
Right.
we came over to the one in the city, which called is E-Zone. It's called Tor 43.
Right.
And then ended up beating people there too. So it's not exactly a great validification that beating other recreational karters means you have any talent. So then
Right.
we did some research. One of the owners said, he seems quite good. You should try professional go karting. So we researched a bit and then went and did professional go karting, where those go karts are really fast to drive, and we ended up doing that. And turns out I was half decent at that too. So
Right.
that's
Right.
the initial start of it.
Right. Okay. It's a very interesting journey. Very, very nice
Yeah.
to know also, because I used to go race in grips when I studied in college. Used to go
Okay.
race and all that. My college is on Mysore Road. But anyway,
Okay.
that's a story for a different day. But so you got into it. You got into it, and somebody identified you and all of that. And
Yeah.
obviously you've raced. I was just looking through the website. And you've raced in most tracks, predominantly in the UK and Europe and all of those
Yeah.
places, right? So before we go get there, I mean, what does it take to be a race car driver? It seems you see people like Schumacher, Hamilton, or
Yeah.
David Coulthard, Raikkonen. You see all these guys, and
Yeah.
you see the glamorous. I mean, you see a lot of glamorous lives that
Yeah.
they live. You see them traveling everywhere around the world. Just
Yeah.
going for these places, racing.
Yeah.
What is the secret sauce? I mean, what does it really take to be a race car driver?
You get this question asked a lot, right? It's there's a couple of things. You obviously need talent, and if you break
Right.
down what talent is, here is obviously you need to have fast reflexes, which is a more skill dependent thing. But also,
Right.
it's just driving a car. It's the to drive a car fast, and to drive a car fast on a racetrack, there's certain skills required. You need
Sure.
to be able to feel what the car is doing and extract the best out of it. So that can be coached, but if you start with if you have a if you're really good starting off, you just have that talent. So yeah, I
Right.
think it's one, like any fast sport, you need hand-eye coordination, reflexes, motor controls, which is probably for any fast sport. But I think here it's an element of able to deal with your machinery and make it go as fast as you can. Then you have a lot of softer skills where if you're racing on a fast circuit, then you should be able to drive the car fast,
Right. Right.
which is not a very comfortable situation, because any second you will crash, because the term we use is on the limit, which
Right.
means if you go over the limit, the tires and the machinery can't handle it, and hence you crash. So it's all about trying to be on the limit in whatever car you drive,
Right.
which means that anything more, not make it.
Right.
So yeah, I think it's that, and then the like you said, the lifestyle and all. I think that's more of a byproduct. It just so happens Formula One is goes to so many different countries and cities around the world, that it's if it's all the US to Asia and everything in between.
Right.
And I don't think it's not that glamorous. It might look from the outside. Yes, there's a lot of travel involved, but being racing a lot, you want to get in and get out of the track as soon as you finish. But I
Right.
think here and there, byproduct, you see things on the way to the track or back to the airport or to the hotel. But when you have so many race weekends, you want to just come and do a good job and get out on the Sunday. So yeah, I think the
Right.
byproduct is it might look fancy from the outside.
Right. So how much of your racing actually depends on your team? Because your team actually plays a very important part. And what is usually the composition of of a racing team? I mean, if you could just take us through the composition and the
Yeah,
kind of role that they play.
yeah, I think that's a really important question. So we are racing motorsport in whatever level, from go-karting to Formula One, and history will tell you this. It's all about your machinery. So
Right.
if you have a good engine, you have a good chassis, and you're a good driver, that's the winning combination, right? So if you're a very good driver and not in the best machinery, whatever happens, you're not going to win. So that's unfortunate. Um, that's the truth. Just facts, because when people around you have a superior machinery, and maybe 80% of your talent, they will still do better than you, because the car is just going that much faster on the straight and in the corner. So that's that. But when if you look what a team consists of, you would have a team manager, you would have a team owner, you would have a team
Right.
manager, you would have an engineer who is your closest person. You'll have a data engineer, and then you will have your whole pit stop and mechanics group. So
Right.
most drivers interact most with their engine race engineer and also the data engineer. So the data engineer is to basically help you go as fast as you can, and
Right.
your engineer is to basically set up the car to your driving style and also help you go fast as you can.
Right. Okay. So obviously, it's a team effort that actually gets you
Yeah.
to pole positions and helps you win and things like that. But specifically about racing, and I was just looking through the website, and there's like a nice world map over here. It shows all the
Mm.
places that you've raced around the world. So
Sorry.
which is the bless you, which is the most memorable place, or rather, which is the most favorite track that you've raced at, and why?
That's a hard question. All racing tracks are very unique. Uh, um, it's all of them have different characteristics to it. You have some very very unique tracks in Europe. You have some very very nice tracks in the US. Something like, it's like, what is your favorite subject? And it depends. Is it the one you like, or is it the one you do well in? Uh, so no, I think saying that, I think there's like one of the initial tracks I liked was Silverstone, because I raced there a lot in the UK. It's a really really
Right.
fast circuit. Um, and then when I started racing in Europe, tracks like Spa, which is very famous. It's over 7 kilometers long.
Right.
So yeah, I think Silverstone in the UK, Spa in Europe, and then the US, where I raced. I did a few races in 2019. The US
Right.
also has a few good tracks. So I think Laguna Seca, Road America, Road Atlanta. So yeah, I don't think I have a favorite. I think it's one of those things where you like one or two or a few corners in a
Right.
particular track,
Right.
and there are some tracks where you just have one corner you like, and some tracks you have more than one. So yeah, but a little bit of everywhere.
Right. Right. Also, when some of us, I mean, people like me, when we follow
Yeah.
Formula One, we wait for the Monaco Grand Prix to come. You know, and just because it's actually been raced in the city, have you ever raced in Monaco by any chance?
No, I've been to Monaco. I've been on the circuit. I've done a few street races, but yeah, I think that slipped out of my mind. I think Monaco is it's a to-do list for everyone. I think it is. People think it's one of the because of the location and the people who come there, and all that, it's the coolest and the most expensive race. That's all true, but I think the point racing drivers make is they don't have 2 seconds to spare. They don't have 1 second to spare. A lot of the other circuits, they have straights, the main straight or the back straight, where they are sitting like this for a few seconds and they have time to think and process, change things on the steering wheel. I think in Monaco, I do not think the steering wheel is ever straight for more than a second or two, because you're
Right.
always you are always turning, you're always changing gears, you're always doing something where, the mind is almost at, you're thinking so much and driving, and you don't have any free time. So that's why it's really, and obviously you have barriers, and not a proper track where if you make a mistake, you would go off and be fine. But here, if you make a mistake, it's done.
Right. So, you spoke about a little earlier. You spoke about it's a team effort, right? And
Yeah,
it takes a lot of people to actually, the race car person is the face of it, and the
yeah,
team is all behind. So, a lot of people actually talk about gym work and cutting weight before
yeah.
before and all of that. So, can you just take us through the gym work? I mean, what is your routine before the start of the race?
Yeah, I mean, this is a very standard question. People ask me regarding racing drivers, and what fitness do you require? And it's a question because I think it kind of stems from, I drive a road car. You drive a race car. I drive
Right.
in the city. I drive on the highway. Uh, I don't need to be massively fit to drive a road car 5 hours, 4 hours, or in the city, right? At the same time, there's different ways of answering this question. You get into very technical answer and saying, we go through G forces, our loads are different. The G forces, when you're pulling 3, 4, 5 times your body weight, and hence you're working that much more on the car. But an example which I give very often is, there's a difference between a commercial jet pilot and a fighter jet pilot, right? They're still taking off, they're still flying, they're still going, but the speeds are very different, the reactions are very different, and the way each one handles are very different. So in some ways, we are a very fast. It's a race car, which is
Right.
several times faster than a road car, and what we do inside is very difficult. But coming back to your question, uh, fitness, it's a hybrid between, it's more endurance for sure, because your heart rate is always high in the car. You're mostly in the car for anywhere, the shortest time is half an hour. It can go up to 2 hours in a car. So you're
Right.
trying to mimic what the conditions in the car are. Since your heart rate is very high, you're always trying to focus on cardio. um, if it's running, cycling, rowing, swimming. But also you need strength. It's not the kind of strength a footballer would use or have. It's about endurance. So you want to. It's all about, using little strength for a long time. Strength for a long time. So in some, in some basic way, it's a lot of reps,
Right.
lightweight, lot of reps, with the combination of cardio. So yeah, so
Right.
that's why you will never find a very buff racing driver. One is they won't fit in the car, and two is that's not the you don't need mass. You don't need that, 1 rep max strength, or 5 rep max, because that's, you're not pushing or pulling anything with a lot of weight, but you're pushing something for a very, very long time, or pulling something for a very long time.
Right, right. So, coming back to a little bit about all of the places that you've raced in, and you mentioned that
Yeah,
you raced in Formula Three in 2016 and all of that, and
yeah.
you've raced in a whole bunch of places, right? So, what is the difference from racing in say a Formula Three to a JK circuit that you're doing right now? So, what are the differences that you face from racing in circuit to circuit? There obviously will be some.
Yeah. You mean circuit to circuit or car to car?
I mean, circuit to circuit and car to car. I mean, the cars also change,
Yeah.
right? So
Yeah.
what would be the difference?
So, circuit to circuit, it's, like, as you know, most of the circuits are very different. but in some ways, you most of the corners are same. You'll probably have a hairpin, probably have a 90-degree corner, 180-degree corner.
Right.
You'll have a straight. So you're driven that corner in some other track in the past. So just
Right.
that the entry, the angle, the width, and the exit is just a bit different. But saying that, this, like I said, there's so much a simulator preparation where the tracks are laser scanned, so it's the exact same track you're racing on. So
Right.
you can really just learn the track, learn everything about it before even getting on. So I think that's the biggest preparation. Obviously, we walk the track to see if there's any differences. If there's anything new on the track, anything has changed from the previous year, any new tarmac, any new safety car lines, or anything which is an addition or which has been subtracted. So then we are aware of it, and then a lot of safety stuff. In case you have to stop the car, where and what, and so
Right.
on and so forth. But yeah, preparation, simulator, track walk. I think you'll know most of it. And
Right.
coming to the car, Formula cars have a lot more downforce. That's the biggest difference. Which basically means you can carry a lot of speed in the corner. You
Right.
can carry a lot of speed entering the corner and exiting the corner. GT cars, as it's a full car, it's a lot heavier. Um,
Right.
you have less speed. You carry less speed in the corner, but downforce is probably the biggest difference.
Right. Okay. So, I want to bring it back a little bit to you personally, and
Sure.
and obviously for the benefit of all of those who are potentially
Yeah.
listening to this, what are two or three things that you, Akhil Rabindra, would say to somebody who wants to get into the sport, or what would you say to a parent
Mm.
who wants to get their children? How would you convince a parent to get their children into the sport?
Yeah, so I think there's few things. I think I'll start with the more technical and get to the cliche. I think
Okay.
I think I'll start maybe with the cliche. You really gotta like it. More than anything, it cannot be. You cannot do it for anyone else. You cannot do it for to show anything. You have to like it, because unless you're passionate and motivated by it, where you want to become better every time you're in a go-kart or a car or anything. You just
Right.
gotta be like, I've been racing now for 10 years, almost 11, and I'm still trying to improve. I'm still trying to push myself. Every time I get back in the car, the next time I wanna be better than I was the previous time. So that's
Right.
just some fire burning, desire to better myself and be a better racing driver. But
Right.
coming to kids these days, if you're getting into racing and karting, really focus on go-karting and your fundamentals, because that's your building blocks, that's your ABCDs of racing. Whichever car you jump into going in the future, that it's the same techniques you will use. So get your foundation straight, which will really help in the long run. And
Right.
and then I think it's important that parents support you, because if it's a kid starting off, it's like I said, it's an expensive sport, so you need their backing to get you off the line.
Right, right. Okay. Okay. Very, very interesting insight. So I think we can close this show with like a small rapid fire.
Sure.
Okay. So I think I've already asked you most memorable track. Which is your most memorable race?
I think my most memorable race is probably it's actually a race we did finish, but I put the car on pole position. I
Right,
literally went out, did a out lap, warm up lap, one flying lap, put the car on pole, and came back and sat in the pits for the whole of the qualifying session. I started that race first and led the race in my stint, and
right,
unfortunately, we finished. We got disqualified, but that was a nice race. It was taking charge, taking leadership, putting everything I know into that race.
right. Okay. So obviously I don't know. Have you seen this movie Rush that everybody watched? and
Yeah,
watch
yeah, yeah,
together.
for
Yeah.
sure. Yeah.
So, what is the one myth in the movie Rush that you want to bust that doesn't really happen in race car?
One myth. There's too many in that
There are too
movie.
many myths. Yes, I pick
Yeah.
one out of those.
Ah, one myth which is it's been a while since I've seen it, but I'm trying to recall. Um, I think back in the day, I'll not say, I'll say there's a difference now. Obviously, there was a lot of women and a lot of what
Drinking,
is the right?
smoking, and
Yeah, back in the
cocaine and
day,
all of
it
that stuff.
yeah, I don't know about drug, but back in the day, I think people used to drink and smoke and the pit crew and all that all that was there. But today's
Right.
world is there's testing and there's so much of this. No one's ever going to dream of or even get near that. And like football or back maybe 4 5 years ago, you would have grid girls and all that. Now I think racing is taken what football does with think small children coming and initiating all that. So all the glamour is de-glamorized.
Right, right. And the
Yeah.
final question would be, what is the one thing that you tell yourself before getting into a race?
Remember why you started.
Nice. I think
Yeah.
on that note, ladies, gentlemen, boys, girls, or whoever has joined us on this show, thank you so much for being a part of this, Akhil Rabindra. Means a lot. Means a lot, and thank you so much for what you said. I hope people will start seeing the real side of racing as opposed to whatever we saw at Rush and all of that. We'll definitely have you back for season 2 to bust more myths about what people saw in the movie. And yeah, thank you so much.